Hi guys, this is James Ross, formerly known as the Hudson United U9 assistant coach. Okay, so recently there was some situation that arose at one of the U10 games that I was assisting in, and well, from that I've been suspended from Hudson United from coaching. They suspended me indefinitely, and I think that's it. And I can't go to my son's game and watch him anymore. And I feel that I was being unjustly persecuted in this matter, maybe a little retaliatory action for being a whistleblower. So, with the feedback going back and forth between me and sending in numerous complaints, letting them know that I wanted to file formal complaints, not one person from the Hudson United board made any attempt to contact me to field those complaints and address my grievances with them. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why they took such a harsh punishment action towards me, because I was implicating a number of the bad things that were done on, I guess, by a few of their board members, and so they don't like that. So I figure, you know what, they're not going to hear me out, they're not going to listen to me, so I might as well just do a tell all and tell you about the whole situation from start to beginning, because what they're not telling people, what they're trying to control, in my opinion, trying to suppress the information and try and control the narrative, it's not right. I don't agree with that. So, me and my wife, our kids, we live in Nashua. That's where we go. And when we first got the kids involved in soccer, they first played for Nashua Youth Soccer League. And my youngest son, Walter, he had some issues there where at his public school that he goes to, right here in Nashua as well. He sustained an injury. It was an intentional assault by one of the children that picked up a rock, threw it, hit him in the head, gave him a concussion, and that ended up ending his season for soccer. But during his time when he was on his soccer team, he had the same kid or another kid that was bullying him on his team, running up and just kicking the ball when he wasn't supposed to, just picking on the kid, harassing the child, everything else. So we brought it up to the attention of their officials in the league. It kind of went like unheeded, whatever, and then we went ahead and requested that our child, be removed to another team. So he was. Things worked out briefly, and then that's when he sustained the concussion at school, in which the school, it's a whole other issue, but they tended to try and suppress that information as well. I'm just starting to see a pattern here going on. With my son Richard, he played on a team along with one of the Hudson United board members. Their son was on the team as well, and we all witnessed what kind of went on with that team as well that we're going to go into, and it's kind of important here. So we had Coach Matt, and he would instruct our son, everything else back and forth. With Nashua, what was it, United?
Not United.
No, Nashua Youth.
You said Hudson United. It's national.
No, but the board members on Hudson United board member, and that's who we went to and for the same reasons. So anyways, what we noticed with the information that I have now, being the assistant coach and going through Godsport training, I feel there was some inappropriate touching of the children by that particular coach, that during the games, he would walk onto the field, stop the games, pick up the children, walk them around the field, carry them, place them in the position, pick them up, run with them back and forth, definitely in conflict with the rules and regulations of the game. So, we brought that to the attention of the league. Don't know what was done about that whatsoever. Don't know. I know that the other mother on the board member, she also complained as well, and she took note of those situations. Also, we witnessed during that time that the coach's son, with some favoritism, would give preferential treatment to his son playing goalie. And what happened in certain circumstances was, on multiple occasions, he started yelling at his kid, scolding his kid, and on one of the games when he was our goalie, decided to bench him, send him out to his car to go wait in there while the rest of the kids played the game. All right. We all didn't agree with it. All the parents saw it. We were all talking about it, like, whoa, it's kind of weird, getting out of hand, kind of crazy. So it just seemed to progress more and more and more. And with my son Richard, we wanted to have a team that was, or have him play on a team that was competitive, where it can build his skill set up, everything else that we wanted as parents. And we weren't getting that from Nashua. And a couple things that kind of bothered me that I let Coach Bill know when we were transferring over to Hudson United, and the reason why is we saw the favoritism going on in the games. We saw certain players getting preferential treatment, things that bothered us as parents. And in the certain circumstances, my child would not get as much playing time, even though he was the one that showed up to each and every practice on time, there to actually practice and focus. Whereas because the National League isn't really focused on competitiveness, we had some players on our team that decided to play in other leagues and other places, and they got the preferential treatment when it came to scheduling and games. And we didn't like that because it put our team at a disadvantage, because these kids didn't view his team as important, so they would just decide not to show up to the game. Some of them didn't even show up to the practices. But when it came time to play the game, it was my son that ended up riding the bench while everybody else got to play the full game. And so there was a number of situations like this back and forth that I know now today that those were not condoned behavior, shouldn't be. Well, it was condoned, but it's not supposed to be. Okay, these are grievances that we brought up with Todd Sullivan. He should know about this. Ed Hoyer, you should also pay attention to this portion too as well. Maybe there's something else going on here that I don't know about. Maybe there's, I don't know. But I saw the abuse of my child by these coaches on the team. I even made it known in their playoffs and the finals when, after watching my son play no more than about, maybe 5 minutes in his final game, he was subbed in. Maybe 50 seconds later, subbed right back out. That's all his play time for the whole game. That was it. All right, and he did good. And because I would give my son direction on the sidelines before the game, how to play, where to go position-wise, and kind of coach him as a father, right? Any one of us would do. I think the other coach, Matt, took notice of that, didn't agree with it, and would take me out. Because he would tell my son, Richard, to go ahead and do one thing, and Richard just knew better. A better place to be was in one particular position from training with me. That he didn't like that, so he automatically got benched. And so when I saw that abuse going on, I pulled my son at the end of that game and said, no more, that's it, you're done. I went and spoke to the coaches, told them I don't agree with their coaching practice. I don't think it's fair and just for you guys to go ahead and treat my kid like this. I know that those coaches had other complaints from other families that spoke up. A lot of them left the league as well, went someplace else. We followed some of those parents as well. We all left kind of in another place. And so with those situations that arose, we, that was that. And then so they had one more game, and then this is what kind of got me to as well. We were told that because my son, that showed up every single practice, all the games, played hard, was like a team leader, very supportive of everybody else, that he didn't deserve a trophy because he didn't finish the end of the game. All right. My kid was upset. All his other friends got the medallion. He was told that he doesn't get one because he didn't finish the game. I don't know if this other board member's son got one or not. I don't know. But I thought that was a very crummy situation that occurred. You have the player that agrees to show up, to be part of the team, to not quit on them, and then all of a sudden you're getting abused. And as a parent, I can't allow that to happen. So I'm going to discuss a lot of things here that are going to upset people. But I figure that as a parent, I would want to know the things that I've observed when I was coaching at Hudson United. I think we all need to know. We're going to cover these things. So we pulled our kids from that league. We said it's not good. We don't like it. It's just not good, right? We want something better for our kids. So my wife did the research. She checked other leagues. We looked into it. She was talking to one of the board members at Hudson United that's there, and she kind of talked us into coming out to Hudson United. So we signed our kid up for tryouts. We had the tryouts. I made it known that I wanted to be an assistant coach. And one more quick note on that. I made it known to the Nashua League that I wanted to get into coaching as well, because I saw that I can do a much better job at looking out for the children, protecting the children, speaking up for the kids, and provide more valuable insight, just be a much better and more effective coach. And so I was added onto the internal email list to receive emails coming in. And the crap that I would see back and forth, there's a reason why they have the parents sitting on the sidelines and the coaches over there. The amount of crap talking about the players back and forth shouldn't be allowed. And I proposed a new league rule that you mix that back the way it used to be so the parents can keep check on the coaches talking about their children, because it's one thing I don't agree with, and I spoke out with Hudson United. and it didn't sit well with the coaches as well. So they condoned the behavior. I didn't like it. I spoke up about it, and that pissed some people off. So back to Hudson United. We had the tryouts. Richard went and tried out 3 times. We had 3 tryouts that he went to, all 3 tryouts. Super excited. He made the team. And then, let's see, we got on the team. I made it known that I wanted to get into coaching. We had the board member advise us on what to do. They got me set up and involved. I spoke with one of the board members, Rich. He got me in there with the Go Sport, the Safe Sport training. I did all that, which I thought was very, like, I made TikTok videos about it, how it was like crazy and kind of condoning like pedophilia activity. I didn't like that. It didn't sit right with me. And talking to the board members and talking to other parents about this and other assistant coaches, they all had the universal exception that was like a very weird training, trying to justify the actions or certain situations that my son's here, so I don't want to go into it, but it just seemed like inappropriate. Like they wanted to micromanage any sort of allegations if you suspected anything wrong. And I'm like, no, just call the cops. If you suspect something wrong, call the cops. Don't notify the league first and get advisement from them whether or not you should or should not notify the authorities. I'm like, no, notify them immediately. If you suspect something's going wrong, notify them. That was my position. I made it known. I followed through with that all the time, it's craziness. So that's another avenue that should be explored by outside counsel. They really need to clean up their image on that end. It just doesn't look good. But so my son started playing. I got placed with Coach Bill on the coaching for the Hurricanes. Okay, I really love teaching or coaching. It was a lot of fun for me. It was great. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching the kids develop their skill set and watching them grow. My son I got to see develop as well. It's a rewarding thing that I find, rewarding. So I enjoy it. Which is why I wanted to give the kids something, and I got them the trophies. Because when I hooked up with Bill and we started coaching, I was very into it. I talked to him about, hey, so what do you guys do for trophies at the end of the year? Is there something going on? We made the tumblers for the league, trying to help promote the Hudson United League. So we made tumblers. I have the laser engraving business on the side that we do. So I'm like, well, I can make trophies for you guys. The costs are very cheap. We can do this. Hudson United does nothing for your kids. Nothing. There's nothing there. So I found out at the end of the season, they don't do anything. The kids don't get any trophies. I just went through the past season with my son being told he doesn't deserve a trophy because he didn't play the last game. And, I'm like, I'm not going to allow you to abuse my child. I mean, it's not acceptable. You're going to punish him because you don't like me and giving instruction. He didn't get his medal is what it was. So I started investigating the trophy situation. I looked at it and said, I'm doing this, right? These kids deserve to have something that they can feel proud of as an accomplishment. I don't want any of the children to feel like my kids felt, when they were told what they were. I didn't agree with that one bit. It didn't sit right with me at all. A number of things did not sit right with me at all with Hudson United and coaching. But the ruling that came down from Tim and the president of Hudson United is that I've been suspended from their league. They don't want me on their property. They're trying to say that I'm an unsafe person, everything else. I want to stress the point. Not a single person from the league has reached out to me to check in on the condition of my child, to see if he's okay, of what transpired on that day that we're going to get into in full detail, because it is eye-opening. They don't want this information to get out. That's my opinion, based on all the email communication that I sent them, telling them things that I wanted to report. I notified the Hudson United board as well as Ed Hoyer. All right, I notified them that I wanted to file a formal complaint, including all these things. It includes the board members as well of Hudson United. Not one of them contacted me to hear me out, to field my complaint. Instead, they wanted to quickly and swiftly just bury this from coming to light. And they're coming down so harsh on me. And to me, it's just, it's crazy the way everything unfolded because they didn't do a good job. There's no way around it in my mind and opinion. They did not do a thorough investigation. My personal opinion, based on everything from what I've experienced now, the child safety, they don't care about. If they really truly cared about child safety, in my mind, when you do an investigation, you contact the person, you contact everybody, you try and grab all the information, all the evidence, all the text messages, emails, communications. You want all that information so that you can have a clear perspective on what happened, what led up to the incident, how the incident occurred, okay, why it occurred, what my motivation was, so that they can understand that, okay, now we've got a clear, definitive answer of what happened, what transpired, and this is our position of why. Because what they're saying is not what occurred. They already made their decision before even having any of the evidence that I have or the details that I have, unless I suspect that because I launched my formal complaint with Safe Sport as well, and I've divulged this information to them, and they're going to get more as well, that they're trying to cover this up because it is very damaging to the league and everything else. So even right down to the video evidence that they have of the game where this situation happened, and it's I've requested from the league, from the state, from Safe Sport, I've requested from all of them, sent them legal notification to preserve the actual video footage, documentation, everything else. Not one of them has contacted me to provide me a copy of the video that I want, like I told them when they contacted me, to notify me first that I was being suspended, which is, the whole thing just falls apart in reality. So, let's see. So, I have a long-standing, proven track record of doing everything in my power to maintain that the children were safe at all times. Right down to the game that I don't recall which team that we were playing against. But
It's actually National U9.
It was actually National U9. You just heard my wife, so you heard her say that. But there was an incident, and Ed Hoyer, please pay attention to this because you probably have some authority or some pull or some sway to maybe you can get this information unless you already know this, and for whatever reason you've taken action I don't know about, or you haven't taken action. I don't know. We'll find this stuff out later on. But there was an incident in that game where one of your older referees was there that you have the details, contact information. You can reach out to that referee and you can get his take on it as well. But there was a situation where one of the other Hudson United coaches and the U9 parents, you all saw this transpire. He came over from across the field trying to pick a fight with first Coach Zach of the U9, my assistant, and then me, and then Coach Bill. All right, he started raising his voice, profanities. My complaints are there. Coach Bill, he has been with the league for a while, I understand, so he's very familiar with what's required, policy-wise, code of conduct, all these things. I think Coach Zach's newer as well, so I'm not sure. But this other coach, been there for a while. His activity's been condoned by Hudson United. He came over here trying to pick a fight, apparently because when I first arrived early to the game, because I brought my own tent because I wanted to set the pop-up tent up for the kids because it was a hot day and I wanted them to have some shade and be safe. That's just the combat medic in me that I was trained to watch out for safety and make sure everybody's safe. I was a medic. So when I'm seeing the kids flustered, their faces all red, they're sweating and everything else, I'm calling them out. I'm pointing them out to Bill that these kids are getting tired. And it's difficult with only one sub as well. We know that it's challenging. But I'm keeping an eye on all your children to make sure that they're safe, they're not getting overheated, heat exhaustion, things like that. But this coach came over to pick the fight. Coach Bill and him are like face to face. You can tell the other guy was ready to fight. He starts, swearing in front of the children back and forth. You guys heard it from across the field as well. Even the referee, after this was said and done, came over to find out what happened. And you think the responsible party of the person being there the longest that knows that this is unacceptable, Coach Bill would file a grievance and say, hey, this is not? No. I'm the person that stood up and said that this is not right, it's unacceptable in front of the children, everything else. I filed a formal complaint. And I understand that Tim, the president of the league, was away out of the country on business, is what I'm told from the vice president of the league that was handling this situation. And I kind of suspected this, along with the team mom and the text messages that we have. Once she identified the person that this was to us, you know, she's into it. She confirmed the person, and then the vice president confirmed it as well, and then tried to get me to like meet with the person at a practice to kind of hash things out. I guess they're buddy, as the other text messages allude to, with the board, and they know each other, so they cover for each other. And that's the sense that I got, the opinion I'm able to formulate based on the information available through text messages that we have, okay? But I was like, no, I was persistent. This is unacceptable, and I'll make all these emails available to people. I have all these transcripts. I have all the documentation. So that's coming up. Well, I'll make it all public. But they try to suppress that. And I'm like, no, this is something wrong. This is the outcome that I like to see happen. The guy shouldn't be coaching anymore. Plain and simple. I was never told what came of that. I don't know. They don't have to as part of the league rules, and I'm fine with that. You know, I put my trust in them to do what's right, I hope. But Ed, based on what I supposedly did to your violations, which we're going to get into detail later, I disagree with them. You guys never contacted me. You didn't hear me out of why I was on the field. You guys don't know. We're going to get to that. But does that guy's behavior, storming across the field in front of all the kids, the opposing team's kids as well and coaches, trying to pick a fight with us, swearing in front of the children, why doesn't that rise to the same level of punishment that you guys are issuing towards me?
That's worse.
I mean, that's actually way worse. Way worse. Substantially worse. Did Hudson United even bother to notify you about this? I mean, I got questions. Okay. Well, we're going to find those ones out too. We'll get answers to those in the future. So let's see. Where do we go from here now? So we had that. I continue on coaching. I'm still looking out for the kids. I show up to practices with ideas, practices, exercises that we'd like to use, and it started to feel more and more like us assistant coaches don't matter. Coach Bill wasn't listening to us. I mean, we had our own little run-ins, two notable points. It was really a conflict of coaching style and what I believed in. You know, it just didn't sit right with me. Well, a number of things. So, a tell-all, right? Let's just go into it, and here we go. So I don't think Coach Bill is a very effective coach. I disagree with his coaching style to some degree. And I offered up positions that Coach Bill he snapped at me a few times, raised his voice, and I can see his kind of angry side. But that's just that, okay? I come into it, I watch the kids play, I take note of things that we can work on in practices. I tried to pull the kids aside so that we can focus on teaching the kids some defensive moves, and we're told we're not allowed to do that. Coach Bill's position is let's just let the kids go ahead and play, and then we'll stay out of it and watch them. You know, it's not the way that I was ever raised that way, trained that way, coached that way before in the past. It was more hands-on involvement of what to look for, where to go, what positions are what, where you should play. I didn't like the disparaging marks that I heard the coach go ahead and make towards some of the children. Early on, we had a player that was, I guess he asked the player to go ahead and leave. He talked to me about practice. He mentioned it. I didn't agree with it. He called me I was away or something. He called me one day and told me to give me a heads up that the player was no longer going to be with our team and everything else. I didn't agree with that. It didn't sit right with me. I didn't like it. My position has always been that, you know what, Hudson United, you guys had the opportunity to have tryouts. You gave tryouts. The kids came out and tried out for the team. And then you guys give the kids an invitation to come play for you. And then after seeing them play a while, you decide that they're not good enough for you, so you're going to just kick them, just drop them from the team. I didn't agree with that. I say, you know what? It's our opportunity as coaches to go ahead and coach them up. I don't care about their skill set or where they are. We can make them better. We can train them. We can custom tailor an exercise regimen or a customized soccer plan tailored to where they are in their own athletic career. That's the right way about going about things. Don't blame the abilities of the children. I don't like that, or put them down. It took me quite a while to convincingly get one of our players that played with my son on his other national team into goalie, where I thought he does a phenomenal job as goalie. I even was like, do you have goalie gloves? I'll go buy you some. You know what? A couple times he showed up, no goalie shirt. What size are you? I told my wife, find out what size goalie. I'll go buy him a goalie shirt. I'll get one on Amazon delivered. I even asked Coach Rick or Coach Bill about those little lace things. I said, I was going to order some. He already did it. He bought some for the kids to keep their shoelaces from going. But I was always actively engaged in trying to make the place a better, environment for the children, always watching out for them. And so when I heard these disparaging remarks coming towards the players, I didn't like it. I've seen that with other players and other teams. It happened on Richard's former team that we just came from. I didn't like it. Had I known then what I know now, I would have filed a formal complaint then about that too. I didn't know. So what do? I voiced my concerns to a board member on the U10. I let him know what I'm experiencing. So Richard gets moved up to the U10 to go play with them as well, where he liked playing, because he got to do practices and he got to do more like competitive one-on-one and focused more on some things. So he went back and forth. So he would go to one practice at U9, I'd assistant coach, and then he'd go play with the team. So when he got on that team, he played at on the home field, and I was asked to go help out the U10 team because, as Coach Rick let me know or made it aware to me, that they've got lots of assistant coaches, but no one's able to commit to the children and be there for them for coaching. So he asked me to come help out. I had my badge on, everything else. I'm like, sure, I'd love to. I'll go do it. Didn't know the kids' names, all right, but I had a blast and I learned quickly, and it was great. So my son played. He was concerned, and my son is concerned. I know as one of the other parents on the U9, one of your child also played with Richard on the U10, and you guys are very concerned about, or he at least expressed that he was concerned about getting injured because the kids are U10 and older and bigger. That was my son's biggest fear too as well, the age difference, and so he was very concerned about getting injured. And I told him, I'll look out for you. You're safe. This is soccer. There's referee. It's safe. So he played, he warmed up to it, he got a little more into it, a little more defensively playing. It kind of took him out of his shell a little bit to more commit to the ball and go challenge the ball and play.
What? I feel like the grandchildren or the sons, they're always the favorited ones.
Yeah, so that's another problem that I have. I'm going to save that for just a little bit later because I kind of have an idea of where I want to go. The league is trying to paint me to be a bad person and an unsafe person to be around for the children, things like that. And that's not the case whatsoever. Like I said, I've always done and spoken up for the children to make sure that all the kids, and not just the kids, anybody in general, to speak up for them to make sure that nobody's taking advantage of them. The elderly.
Talk to the U9 parents. They're all happy.
Yeah, I mean, I've always done that. I joined the military. I served. I went through buds. I used to pick up people on my shoulder and carry them down the finish line. It was a team effort. And that's another thing I got with Bill. It was, a lot of the pep talks that he gives are horrible. I mean, even the last game. I'm going to save that so I don't get distracted. But back to that game, me coaching for the first time with the U10, we won. Coach Rich had to attend to some other matters, so I coached that team. I talked to the players. I took notice of what was happening on the field, gave them corrective measures that they can go ahead and position themselves in a different manner so that they can learn and go, and it works. One of the I think we were playing the same national team that this problem had, because I remember there's two notable players, number 35 and Nacho. Those two players.
It was a forfeited, and then they scrimmaged.
Is that what it was? Was it a forfeit? No.
We scrimmaged with them, and we even shared our players with their team.
Is that the game?
Yeah.
It could be. I'm not 100% sure on that particular one, but I know the two players because I took notice of what was going on. I didn't like it. One of them, we'll get to that part because, it's unacceptable behavior. And again, the leagues, the people, They don't want to know this information. I want the video because I can call out minute by minute, second. I can point out exactly where this is at. And yeah, let's just keep going. So that was that. We won the game. Things were great. People were happy. And I love to see the kids with a smile on their face that they enjoyed, like they felt like they accomplished, they worked hard. It's a rewarding feeling. It's good to win. It's good to feel the win. You shouldn't be punished for winning. Okay. If we lose, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. My position, my philosophy, same as the military, everything else that we were trained, is you play hard, you go out there with the intent to win. You try. You go in there with the mindset that winning is possible. We didn't give the kids that, or I tried to. We didn't give the kids that as a whole, as a coaching team for the U9. We gave them, I would say it's almost like sometimes like a defeatist attitude, mindset, like you guys aren't good enough. It's okay. Don't expect to win. If you guys lose by, I didn't like it. It didn't sit right with me. I wanted to go out there with my kids and be like, yeah, winning's possible. Let's go out there. Let's have fun. Let's try and win. We'll score. We'll do what we practice. And then we'll just, if we lose, not a big deal, but let's have fun. You guys have a chance. I try to give them an uplifting speech, letting them know that this is a team effort, that this is a, it's a team game, that we win together as a team or we lose together as a team. So, yeah, let's just go to the final game. The final game that we played on U9 over at Wyndham that I was there for, okay? This is, I think, the day after the other incident we're going to get into. That game was horrible. There was no way around it. And me and Coach Bill bumped heads on that one, I think on 2 occasions. And that's the one where they scored like 3 goals in the first time. I didn't like it one bit, all right? We started that game off with, well, first, the other Wyndham team, I'm not a big person into the stats, like, this person is in this league. I don't know what they are, where our position or standing is. That's not me. So when I'm standing next to Coach Bill and Coach Bill says to me, like, looks on at the Wyndham team like in awe, like, now that's a world-class team. I'm like, well, what's that say about our team? You know what? The kids can hear you. They pick up on this stuff. I don't agree with that, and that's why they took the field feeling like defeated and stuff like it, and then you tell them that, you might not win, but it's okay. And like they go out there with an attitude like, wow, coach just crushed our hopes and dreams. Everything falls apart. And then like my son was pointing out, the favoritism. I don't like the favoritism of the coach's son, everything else. I don't do it with mine. I don't think anybody should do it. We saw it happen with the other national team that we left. I don't like that with the favoritism of certain players, everything else. So, that game started off with his relative telling him that he doesn't like playing defense, so he's just not going to play it. I'm just not going to do it. I can hear it. He can hear it. We're right there. The parents probably can't hear it because you guys are on the other side of the field, but it's right there where we can hear it. And I tell Coach Bill, I go, Bill, it's not okay. I go, take him out, put in the other player that's on the bench right now that I think doesn't get a fair amount of playing time, put him in. A kid that is waiting to play, wants to play, versus a player that doesn't want to play. Take him out, have a talking to him. No. Snaps at me. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right. So I see where that's going. And then keeps the player in. They score 2 goals really quick, like super fast. You all saw it. All right. I'm looking at this going, this is not good. All right. And then the player is allowed to showboat and take the ball away from our own players and travel up the field repeatedly without passing. This is a team sport. It's not fair to the other players and the parents that show up to watch their kids, and then as coaches, we're condoning this type of behavior where you're not going to pass to anybody. That's wide open. Give the ball to your coworkers. It's a team sport. So when I point that out to the coach, he snaps. He goes, no, would you just, and then it's like, fine, I can see right where this is going, right? So I just sit on the bench. I don't say anything for the rest of the game, and I'm just there. But I do say something else towards the end. And this gets me going too as well. So we all saw that. I'm watching it. I know that as the score increases, that the parents on the other side, from what I'm told from my wife that was there, and all the other parents speaking out, that they wished we would have just called the game. Because the kids were getting so beaten and demoralized, you can see it on their face. Even our goalie stormed off the field at halftime, something happened. We don't know, but I'm watching. And I point this out, Coach Bill. It's unacceptable, man. Things are getting out of hold. The kids are getting demoralized, right? We're just getting nonstop goal, goal, goal. I go, it's really taking a toll on the team, the morale. I go, the morale is going down. You know, it's a sinking ship. Bill, we got to correct it. We got to do it. So what I know now is that, like on the U10, this kind of happened before on the final game that we had played. And what they had done was the other team that was winning, like doing a lot of scoring, dropped down 2 players. So they were playing with two players less to try and equalize it. The other team didn't do that. They just kept going and scoring and scoring and scoring. I don't even know what the score was and how bad it was. I just know that that type of behavior shouldn't have been condoned and allowed, because I think as a coach, it really wasn't good for the children to experience that, especially, you know, when they look up to us to give them support. So that didn't sit right with me. You know, Bill's unprofessional tone of snapping at me and talking down to me, I didn't like that. So I made this stuff known to the board, Hudson United as well. They don't want to hear it, okay? They're trying to suppress it, in my opinion. I mean, otherwise, they would have contacted me to hear me out and hear these things. They don't want to know about it. Ed, maybe you can do something about that. I don't know, but when an assistant coach, a family member, a parent speaks out and the board doesn't want to hear it because everybody knows everybody type situation, as the text messages that we have kind of like alludes to. I mean, again, I offered all this information up to the leagues. Still waiting for that phone call. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to contact me. They just want to kind of bury this, is my assumption now at this point. But I believe with what came down, what happened, what transpired, that had you guys honestly reached out to me to do the right thing in a fact-finding mission to find out why I was on the field, what happened, what led up to it, that you probably would have came to an entirely different conclusion. It definitely would not be as harsh as it is right now when you guys are going after my child and telling him effectively that, you know, he can't play soccer or that I can't go in the leagues. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous at this point, especially when people hear exactly why I was on the field. But I have my suspicions as to why you guys are doing this. So, those are the things that didn't sit right with me. You know, I actively spoke out against the establishment quo. I said this is unacceptable, we should do better. I've never liked, never condoned the singling out of other players. And there's 2 more thoughts come to mind. Let's jump there before I forget. I think they're important. To the parents that decided that your kid wasn't going to play with the soccer game on a game because you had, I think it was a anniversary something, wedding related, you guys were going someplace out of town. That didn't sit right with Coach Bill. On numerous occasions, he goes, I don't know what the hell's wrong with those parents. And I'm like just sitting there biding my time. I go, you know, what am I going to say? You're the parents. If you got a family function to go do, I leave it to you in your best judgment to go ahead and decide what's right for your children. You know, does it leave us down a player? Yeah, sure. Is it difficult on the team? Sure. But it is what it is, and we'll deal with it. Not a big deal. So there were frequent comments like that I was like telling my wife, Kim, I got to do something about it. I got to say something. It doesn't sit right with me. It's never sat right with me ever in my entire life. I've always been the one to stand up and say something. You know, always the way I was trained, military, special forces, everything. It's just, I've always been that way, to speak my mind, fight for what's right, do what's right by the children, everything. And then we had another incident where one of the players didn't make it back to the game because they were stuck in traffic going to the Cape on vacation or something like that. Same thing. Same scenario. Just the crap talking about the parents. I don't like it. You know, it just, and you know, with all this talking going on, I see the exact same pattern occurring in Nashville. I see it occurring in the league with other teams, everything else. I've come to the opinion now that it's rampant. And even talking to the U.S. Soccer League, whatever person that called me, I've got the details, but I relayed the message to her, and she told me that there's a huge problem with this stuff going on. I didn't realize how bad it is, all right? But I got to experience it and the cancel culture firsthand. I mean, it's crazy. When you speak out and you expose stuff, you become a target. But yeah, those things, I didn't like it. So that was one situation. Another situation with that parent, I didn't like the. I went to California on business. I come back and there's some sort of punishment, fitness punishment, something, whatever, when the kids aren't paying attention. That was set up and geared towards one particular player. I didn't agree with that. No, I don't like that. I don't believe in singling out the kids. My whole thing is, you're going to do push-ups and jumping jacks, stuff like that. It's as a team effort. That's how it is in the military. It builds teamwork, camaraderie. It's good team building exercise. You don't single out the bad players. You don't do stuff like that. That's management level ideology. It's not effective leadership. A good leader, like me, was trained to go ahead and recognize that there are all kinds of people out there with different skill sets, strengths, and weaknesses. Good leadership recognizes those strengths, compiles them in a manner in which you can effectively tackle whatever objective is that you have. That's good leadership. So you can do that in these soccer matches and soccer games, teams, things like that, by differentiating the instruction, individualizing a structured plan that you can focus on. Like, for example, I wanted to take the goalies. And rather than hear complaints about the goalies not doing this or not being able to do that, I'm like, that's a coaching problem. And I've said this was a coaching problem, and that bothered Bill. He snapped at me in that time too as well. I'm like, quit blaming the children for where they are or what their abilities are. Take personal ownership that we're the coaches. When I said that this is a coaching failure, blew his mind. Didn't like it. I'm like, take some ownership. This is us. What have we done as coaches to help these kids? I'm like, you're complaining about the abilities of goalies. I'm like, we haven't pulled the goalies aside to show them, how to protect themselves when charging for the ball or how to position themselves. We didn't do none of that. None of it. And so I feel like we failed at that. There's plenty of teachable moments that arose throughout this whole season that I pointed out frequently, and I was told to, don't worry about it. The last game at Wyndham, I told him that, towards the end, I had my son tell Coach Bill how he felt. Coach Bill always made it known that winning is not the objective. We're not here to coach to win, train to win, practice, none of that. And I'm like, well, if we're not trying to win, at least let the kids play whatever position that they want to try. Let them have fun. And what I found out is we're not supposed to have positions with kids that play only certain positions. I didn't like that, So I didn't like that. If the kids want to play whatever they want, let them try it. So in that game, I said, hey, let's go ahead and move one of our defenders up to midfield and put my son into defense because he wanted to play defense. And he told Bill that. Said no. My kid wanted to play defense. And the other assistant coach, Zach, is like, well, I don't know who we put in defense if we move this person up there. I'm like, put Richard. He plays defense on U10, no problem. And he plays midfield too. And he plays striker. If they want to play something, let them experience it, have fun, learn the game, learn the different positions, and that'll be that. I don't like it when, the kids are on the field and like I pointed out, I go, Coach Bill, we got to work on penalty kicks. We got to work on drop balls, indirect kicks. We got to work on handballs. What to do? Oh, I don't agree with that. No. Those only happen a handful of times, so we don't need to teach them. I go, it's part of the game. It's part of the rules. So you told me that you don't want to teach these kids that because it only happens a handful of times. All right? Well, then I don't want to hear you complain about when the kids don't know how to set up. That's a coaching failure. That's us as coaches failing to teach the game to the children. So when they don't know what to do on the sidelines or what to do on a throw, if they don't know what they're doing, that's our fault. Don't point the fingers at the children and blame them. It starts with us, the coaches. That's our fault. So if they lose this game, it's not the players that lost. We lose as the coaches. All right? So there's lots of things like that the parents don't know. All right? Now you guys do. It's coming out. And I spoke up about this. I spoke out about this. I pressured people. I drew attention to it. And it wasn't just this team. It was other teams as well with board members involved. And that got the attention of the board as well because I escalated things and I promoted it and said, hey, you know what? I highlighted it. I put the spotlight on what I considered the corruption. All right? And they didn't like that. So I started sending out the notices to preserve data, this red flag for them. They just want to cut ties and try and bury and suppress it, and I don't agree with that one bit. But that's what I saw on the U9 teams. But yeah, it was just a crazy world of events. It's just been a long haul of stuff like this going on, you know. And I still like coaching. I'm still going to pursue it. You know, it's you know, I'm good at it. There's no way around it. All right, and I do it for the right reasons, and that's for the children and their safety. Whereas other people, I mean, they got no problem, in my opinion, from what I've seen and witnessed, abusing your children for a win, abusing it to make themselves look good. You know, things that I saw, they don't care about your kids. All right, your kids get hurt. Oh well, it's as long as they get that win and makes them look good. That's what it's about for them. I don't agree with that. I was always concerned about my child getting hurt, and let me tell you about that. My son Richard broke his elbow, cleaved it. All right, I took him up to CMC. Wife drove the car. I sat in the back and held my son's arm together with my hand. I get to CMC. They take X-rays. They don't know what to do. They're concerned about giving him narcotics at his young age and weight. They don't know what to do, so they do an X-ray. They're consulting back and forth with Children's Hospital, and they come to the diagnosis that his elbow is sprained. So they just go ahead and bandage it up, so it'll be all right in 2 weeks. I'm a trained medic in the military. I knew better. I knew better than all those people looked at him, and I said no. So, in the middle of the night, load him up in the car, and we drive all the way into Boston Children's Hospital. And within about an hour or so, I get the orthopedic surgeon, the department come down and say, yep, it's surgical. His elbow, part of it that cleaved off, was over here. So he has a scar right here that he had to have surgery, and they had to take that back and put pins in it. He was in a cast for months. Go back in for another surgery, take the pins out, cast it, and then go back again, have the cast taken off. Let me tell you, when his cast came off and we met with the orthopedic surgeon, and my son could only lift his arm up like that. That was it. That's all he could lift his arm up. And the surgeon looks at me and my wife and says, well, even if he can only lift his arm up this far, he'll still be able to do about 70% of whatever normal in life. That was just a complete gut check for us as parents. My stomach dropped like, oh my God, what happened? It's a feeling that I hope none of you parents ever have to have. So when I'm on the soccer field at all times, I'm concerned with safety. I see it ahead in advance. I'm OSHA certified. As you know, as a business owner myself, a board member myself, it's my responsibility to look out for the safety of my employees, the personnel, the site, the visitors, everything. The buck stops with me. I have to maintain safety and liability. I am accountable to lots of other people. So when I'm on the field, my number one priority, and I always voice it and make sure everybody understands, it's safety of my children, your children, any other personnel that I'm involved with that I have supervision over. I always look at situations and see things of what could possibly happen. Safety violations, safety issues. Is somebody going to get hurt? Can somebody get hurt in this scenario? If I don't do something here, can somebody get hurt? I'm trained to look for these things, to see these things where other people don't, or just can't, or are unwilling to see. So that's where I'm coming from. That's my background. That's why it's important to understand where I am, so that when something happens, like in this game that we're going into next, you can understand the motivation of what motivated me to go out on that field. So in this U10 soccer game played in Nashua, I forget what it is, but I injured my back before. I was hurt. Before we even got to that game, I could barely get off my living room floor. My sciatic nerve, I pinched something, whatever. So on this video, you should be able to see me before the game, during the game, on the sidelines, trying to crack my back, twisting it, just in pain. So I oh yeah, and for anybody, no, I didn't take any painkillers or anything else, no. So I'm there, and the game kicks off. It's a very short field. It's like half the size like a normal soccer field would be. And starting off on this game, I knew right away from the first time that I noted that we played this Nashville team that they play dirty. No way around it. They're a dirty playing team. I blame the Nashville coaches for this because they condone this type of behavior. The coaches should recognize this. They should be calling their players out for doing things like we're going to go into, and they didn't. Even when Coach Rick, myself, and the other coach, I don't know his name. He was in the Bruins jersey. I've never really met the guy, I don't think. I've never been formally introduced to him. I don't think. I don't know him. I don't know his name. I don't know.
I think that might be Coach Teddy.
I don't know. I don't know the guy. I don't know. I know Coach Rick because I talked to him back and forth through text messages that I have back and forth on the matters that the board didn't care to get a copy of or look into or contact me for, or even Ed Hoyer you guys didn't care to get the information to make an informed decision. Don't know why. Maybe it's just trying to make me out as an example. This is all opinion now at this point because you never contacted me to get the information that I'm going to tell you guys right now. Again, if you guys would have done what I consider a fair job, maybe you guys would have a different outcome that wouldn't be so harsh. Banning me from watching my child play soccer. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous. But during this game that took place, I knew the team was playing dirty. They played dirty in the past. We called them out for it. And of all the people that were there, I think of those two assistants, that I'm the youngest one, the newest one, with less time coaching in the Hudson United League. So they would know better than I on the league rules, what's allowed, things like that, etc. But yet I'm the only person that stood up and said something. Keep that in mind. So during this game, the Nashua players, number 35 notable, and I think it was Brian, and Nacho, the one that assaulted my child. What happened was, in the game early on, the other players are playing very aggressive, a lot of pushing, and these are not normal sanctioned rules of soccer, okay? I laid this out in an email. I sent this out to Ed. I sent this out to Safe Sport. I notified all these people along with the Hudson United board. No action. They don't care about it, all right? Nothing was done. As far as I know, nobody contacted me for more details about this. And there's even more details that I can add that I'm going to get into now. And there's more. With documentation. You think you'd want the documentation to understand when you're saying something is so egregious that you'd understand what led up to it, so that you can have an internal review and change the policies and procedures if need be and really use it as a test case. He didn't do that. Nothing. I even offered up to Ed Hoyer's assistant, whoever called me to first know. I have the detailed information, but they contacted me. So, in this game that started off, one of our players on defense got knocked down pretty hard. And he was complaining about the other Nashville team playing dirty. And we're talking about grabbing jerseys and pulling you down, choking the children. I've had a number of the children come up to me, Coach Ross, the player choked me. You can see a red mark around their neck. You can see they're pulling my jersey down. And you can see me on video that I've asked for that the board and everybody refuses to give me a copy of. You can see me pointing out things to Coach Rich, all right? A board member, somebody that should know better, somebody that should be advocating for the children, people that should be speaking out saying, hey, time out, this is not okay. I'm pointing these things out. We've got the national team pulling jerseys down. One notable case is when the Nacho player, I pointed out to Coach Rich what happened because he's distracted or something. He goes, what happened? I go, look, this is what happened. Why is that player down? So the Nacho player wraps his arm, I can't do it because my shoulder injury, but he wraps his arm all the way around one of our players' necks, intentionally trying to bring him to the ground. All right, I'm like, safety issue, right? You're going to break somebody's neck. If you fall down with him while still holding on to him, you're going to fall down and you're going to break this kid's neck. You're going to paralyze him. Huge red flag. Not okay, not allowed in the rule books, can't do it. Like my wife said, if we wanted our kids to play football, we'd sign them up for football. They would have chest plates, the body, they'd be fully protected as best can be so they don't get concussion or anything else. This match was not by any way, shape, means, or form a safe, normal soccer match. Everything from violence and aggression kept escalating. So when Coach Rich was instructing one of our U10 players to go ahead and retaliate against the national players by taking them out and putting that player on their bottom, you said the other word, but to put them down, I'm like, I was a little taken back. Like, I've seen a pattern in the league, so I was a little taken back. But the other assistant coach, the Bruins coach, he stepped up rather quickly and was like, come on, coach, come on, no, come on, coach, no. He said that. So that assistant coach recognized that the behavior of the board member, assistant coach, instructing one of our children to go ahead and retaliate, cause physical harm against the other child, was not okay. And then Coach Rich said too, I guess he didn't like he told me. He goes, I guess he didn't like what I had to say. I'm like, well, yeah, it's not okay. So I see this pattern of condoning abuse within the Hudson United League of this player can attack this player and this player can come do this. And I'm watching the game going, and again, I'm on video saying as much as this is getting out of hand. We need to, I told my board member, coach, we need to end this before somebody else gets hurt. Someone's going to get seriously hurt and injured. I'm saying this on audio, on video, on the sidelines, right? So we notice that. Our referees, the person that we had was not doing her job. The excuse I got from the leagues were, well, we're short-staffed, it's difficulty recruiting, blah, blah, blah. Trying to justify not having a safe environment due to their inability to properly staff an event. If that's your position, that it's acceptable because, no, there's no excuse. As an employer, if I hire somebody that's not qualified, stick them in a position of authority, and they can't do the job and somebody gets injured, doesn't mean that we're no longer liable. So let's see here. Yeah. So no pass to me here. So yeah. So now when they were playing this back and forth, doing rough, I notified the national coaches. Coach Rick notified the national coaches, and the other assistant coach told them that, hey, your players are getting a little too handsy. Their response was, ref's not going to call it, so nothing there. We're going to keep doing it. We told them, we pointed it out. We said this is not safe. It's not okay. They didn't care. They condoned the behavior because it was allowed to continue throughout the season. These are learned behaviors that you train. You should be doing is recognizing it, calling the children aside and saying you can't do this type of behavior. It's not allowed. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that assistant coach wearing the Bruin jersey, I told him and pointed out to him on video, on camera, on audio, the particular players on the national team that were doing things that were inappropriate, bullying to our players, not playing for the ball. This is aside from the rule of soccer, the game of soccer. This is intentional, malicious acts of bullying, things like I pointed out the things that the ref was not calling that should have been called. The cross-checking. It's not hockey. But the assistant coach goes, oh, my son plays hockey with him. That's what happens when you go up against a hockey player. You get cross-checked. I'm like, no, it's not okay. This is soccer. You can't do that. Oh, well, I know his dad, and I'll talk to him, and deal with it. I'm like, no, I'll deal with it. I'll take care of it. It's not acceptable. So we notify the referees. Nothing's done. We notify them of the hands. Nothing's done. No calls are made. No safety calls. And I'm not talking. Here's the thing, guys. I don't care about the refs making a bad call where it should have been our ball, but it's their ball, or it should have been a corner kick instead of a goal. I don't care about that. I've made that known long before. Only thing I'm focused on is the children's safety. What I care about are safety calls. Is it a high kick? Or like the incident on video where we got 3 of our players laying on the ground that were taken down. on the ground fighting over the ball in front of the view of the actual referee, okay? And she's watching this go on. And then she's watching
Parents
two
are all
other players.
screaming.
I know. She's watching two other players kicking the ball towards her head. And I'm like, come on, ref. You know, I didn't say it's loud to her, like away. I'm like, come on, ref, you got to call this. But the assistant coach goes, no, that's all right. I'm like, no, it's unsafe play. I'm on video saying it's an unsafe play. My main concern the whole entire time is safety of the children.
Parents were yelling, kid down.
Parents, the referee in this game, oblivious. I don't know what she was watching. It wasn't the game, because we had players that were down on the ground that were injured on video, watching the video, watching it. And all the parents on the sidelines, including me, other people, are yelling and shouting at the ref, trying to get her attention that we got a player down on the field,
Like 3 or 4
injured.
times.
4 times.
A couple times, I don't know.
A pattern of neglect, a pattern of not watching the children, watching out for their safety, not doing the right thing, not making calls for safe. Her judgment's clouded, and she should not be refereeing a game at this level. It should be much lower. Okay, that's just a fact. So everybody's yelling to try and get her attention. She finally blows the whistle. Coach Rich goes over there and takes a look at him. Kid gets subbed out. Everything else. So I'm watching this game escalate. I'm hearing our coaches talk about retaliation, going back after them, using your children to go ahead and instructing them to do bodily injury. I'm like, no, this is. I tell Coach Rich, this is getting out of hand. Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get injured. All right, this is not okay. I'm pointing out the nacho player, choking players, putting their arms around them. Well, when they get mad and they're upset because they're taking the ball down the field and our players take it away from them, they engage in the donkey kicking. For you guys that don't know, that's like when the player's behind you, you don't have possession of the ball, nothing. You're just mad, so you decide just to kick backwards and try and get away with it. I point that out. I go, it's not okay. It's not safe. Come on, we gotta call these. So I'm watching this game escalate in violence and aggressiveness, not fighting for the ball, not trying to win, just getting very, unsportsmanlike conduct, things going on back and forth. The other opposing team, the national team coaches talking crap, just everything going back and forth. This is what happens on the coaches' sidelines that the parents can't see or hear. All right, so I'm watching this, concerned parent, concerned coach, worried about the safety of the children, watching what's going on, hearing what my head board member, assistant, or head coach board member is saying and condoning the type of behavior. I got the other assistant coach. He's, correcting the board member, saying, don't do this. All right. He's acknowledging, he's trying to coach as well. I'm telling him, that the assistant coach, that this is getting out of hand, that someone's going to get seriously hurt, that we need to stop this, that this player is grabbing onto jerk. I'm notifying them. I'm informing them. I'm pointing out. You can see me pointing on the camera. This is happening. I'm highlighting the safety concerns that I have. And then my son ends up on the field. 1 second. He's on the field. He ends up taking down their nacho player. All right. My son, the guy's bringing down the ball. He steps into it. Something happens. You can't quite see. Nacho trips, goes falling forward. It was a clean move. Referee didn't call the whistle, so there's no personal foul. My son's not that way. He's concerned about getting injured and hurt. So that didn't sit right with the mother of the child over there, though. So she's calling for retaliatory actions, everything else, and she's on video and everything else, cursing and swearing at me and stuff like that afterwards. But he ends up getting subbed out. A couple minutes later, he gets subbed back in. And then he intentionally takes down my son, on the field. He goes down hard, okay? And I'm like, it was blatantly obvious to me that this was a dirty play. It was intentional retaliation. You can hear the actual other coaches instructing to do so. And I'm like, enough is... So I walk onto the field, which is the big no-no according to the league rules, and that's what they're all up in arms about, is that I walked out on the field. First it was I ran out in the field until they saw the video and saw that I physically just couldn't run from my injury. So then it became I walked out into the field.
You also stepped on.
Well, that's the thing. So that's what they're all upset about, is because I walked out onto the field and they think that I was walking towards a referee. So when the lady from the league contacted me to inform me that I was being suspended for going out onto the field, and they got this video evidence and everything else. And she tries telling me how dangerous it is that I go on the field, especially when there's a child on the ground. Especially. So you can imagine my reaction as a parent and a father when I inform her, and how dumbfounded she sounds, when I inform her that, yeah, that child that's on the ground, that's injured, that's my son. That's my kid that was taken down on the ground and then in a very cheesy fashion intentionally steps on your child's chest. Yep. So that's what happened with that particular event. So, and that's what they don't understand. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to listen to me or anything else. And when my son, hold on one second here. Let's just give me one moment here because I have this so I can get you guys a clear visual here. But you know, my son was injured. That's the reason I went onto the field. My son was taken down hard, you know, and I was concerned about his safety in this. Was he okay? Taken down hard and then intentionally stepped on his chest like in a I got you, I own you type faction. Completely like just bad. I didn't agree with it one bit. And I voiced my, you know, my displeasure with that later, everything else with the people. Yeah, see, where did that one thing go, Kim? Yeah, I'm sure. So yeah, I sent over, you know, notices, leagues, amendments, stuff like that. Oh, that's right. I got all my safe sport documentation, everything else where I went. But the game was just, it was so dirty to begin with. It started off so dirty. You know, I was concerned about the kids getting injured. I didn't like what I heard. You know, it didn't sit right with me. It was not a normal game by any way, shape, or form by people that knew way better than me, that were coaching a lot longer than me, and everything else. So I get a letter from Ed Hoyer from the NSH. He's the director of operations up there, right? He says the incidents on match 541 were submitted to the disciplinary committee pursuant to leagues, blah, blah, blah. He goes in to talk about how I'm remorseful. I'm like, you guys never talked to me. You never called me, reached out to me, did a follow-up how my son was doing, none of that stuff. You didn't have a conversation with me of why. You don't even know the events that led up to this situation. So don't assume that I'm not remorseful. You know what happens when you make an assumption, right? It's kind of dumb. Don't do it. You can reach out to me. I've asked you to reach out to me. I've asked your department to reach out to me. I notified you that I was filing a formal complaint and grievance of what transpired. My opinion is none of you guys care. If you did, you would have contacted me to get the information that we have, to get everything that I just divulged. You know, but you guys didn't do it. So you sent me this disciplinary letter. Everything is related about how I was so unsafe that I walked out onto the field here. So yeah, in 1 second here. Let's just do this. Pop that off there. So it might be a little difficult. But you can kind of see me there in the red shirt. You notice how my toes are pointed towards my son. And, you know, that's my son right there. That's Richard. And he's grabbing his sides, and he's in pain, and he's telling me that he can't breathe. It hurts to breathe. That's the referee way over there. And I'm pointing at my son saying, ref, come on. I walk out there and say, enough is enough. You know, this is not safe. The kids are going to hurt. I told her that I want to end the game, that the game needs to end. Nothing was done. That's my right as a coach to make sure if something's not safe, I get the ability to end the game and call it. I tell her so much. It's enough is enough. Someone's going to get seriously hurt. He comes off the field. My son comes right off the field in tears on camera right behind us, showing him in tears on the ground, crying, grabbing at his chest. He's got a cleat imprint mark. You know, 1 second. I think we went sideways there. Anyways. Where are we at? That way? There we go. Yeah, so he's got a cleat indentation on his chest. And he's telling me that, you know, it hurts to breathe. It's difficult to breathe. He's in tears coming down his face. He was just personally assaulted. Not fighting for the ball. They both go down hard. They get hit. Or two players going for the ball collide. This was an intentional they're minor children, so criminal, but it was an intentional assault on him. Not consistent with the rules of the game. And I point out to the ref, I'm telling her that this is, as I'm allowed to do, under the rules and regulations. Hudson United didn't even bother to read their own rules. It's on their zero tolerance policy on their website, published documentation that under no circumstances are you allowed to approach the referee, blah, 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 with the exceptions for coaches, assistant coaches, and it's right there, boldface, for safety concerns. I'm walking out there on the field saying enough is enough. Why is it enough? Because I just went through the whole, this coach is condoning this behavior. It's not safe, people, at all. My whole motivation for going out there was to maintain safety for all the children on both sides playing, okay? Why the leagues don't care about that, I don't know. I'm trying to promote safety. I just saw this happen. I'm on the field. I'm telling the referee that in accordance with the rules and regulations of U.S. Youth 2019 publication, a yellow card at the very least should be issued in this circumstance, which I'm allowed to do under the rules and regulations of informing a referee, especially a minor referee that doesn't know what she's doing, okay? Because look at we just witnessed a referee, that's incompetent in her abilities to perform the functions that she's charged with of maintaining a safe environment. Granted, she's a minor, but that doesn't excuse the organization's liability in a matter like this. They're still liable for the damages that occurred due to their failures. They don't want to admit failure on this. They're trying to bury the story so that they don't have to accept responsibility that, yeah, you know what, we could have done better. I mean, that's the opinion that you guys leave me with because of look at what's transpired. You never reached out to me. You never talked to me. You think you'd want to find out, well, why did you go on the field? What was your motivation for doing that? Why did you feel the need or feel compelled to go out there? I mean, when I told this person that called me from the league to notify me that I'd been suspended, she didn't even know that the player down on the ground was my son and that he was injured and that he was intentionally assaulted. Their determination was already made before they even had all the facts. I mean, how is that just? How is that right or correct? It isn't. And then I got the text messages when I'm notifying Coach Rich. We met with Todd Sullivan, the director over there at Nashua. I told him as well, and I've had, that I want to get a copy of the video. Again, I don't have the copy. Nobody's given it to me because I can highlight in that video and point out exactly what happened, who said what, when it happened, when their own board members. So it's like, are you protecting the board members? Is that what's going on? The other coaches, did they get banned as well? Did the board member get banned as well? I mean, in that video here, okay, this blue, when I'm out in the field with my son, this blue referee from Nashua, or the coach from Nashua, he comes out cussing at me in front of the kids. And I didn't cuss, but he comes out cussing at me, trying to almost like step to me like he wants to fight or something. And I'm like, just go. Take Nacho out of the game. And he starts cussing at me. We're not going to do that. And I'm like, well, it's unacceptable. My whole motivation was to maintain a safe environment for the children, something that the referee, the league, was not doing. Safety was not on their mind whatsoever. I'm convinced of that, just based on everything that went on, all the communication that transpired after. The simple fact you don't reach out to me or my son to see how he's doing, right? It's just sickening. So I notify our board. I notify Todd, right? I tell Rich I want to file a complaint. He's a board member. I tell him that I want to file a complaint. I want to get a copy of the video. Still waiting for it. I tell the lady from the league that calls me that I want to file a complaint. I'll wait for the video so I can go and submit it to Safe Sport. So I tell her that I want to file a complaint with Safe Sport. And she's like, well, you can do that and do this, but it might escalate. I'm like, yeah, I want to escalate it. Nobody's heard my side of the events. Nobody knows what's transpired. No one knows. So when I'm out there on the field, though, checking on my son, then you get the other parents. They start yelling or whatever back and forth. Some are happy that I'm speaking up for the children, making sure. Some of them, like I'm told that it was Nacho's mom that was yelling and cussing at me. I couldn't really make it out, but she's whatever. Did she get suspended too? Did you guys go after her or just me? I mean, honestly, Ed, any answers there? I mean, you got the parents out there that are yelling and cussing at me in front of the kids. Is that acceptable? I mean, it seems like it is. I mean, I don't know of anything that's been done. Your email letter that you sent out only says that Hudson United has been sanctioned. Doesn't mention the National League at all whatsoever for condoning this type of behavior. Or my other son's behavior on the past team. You know, what happened to him being told that he doesn't deserve a trophy? Is that okay? Does the league condone that type of behavior from its coaches? Or physically picking up the children and walking around the field with them? Is that acceptable? I do believe I have video footage of that. I have to search all my records. Again, I didn't know it was wrong at the time. Going through all this stuff now with this situation, diving into the board meeting, the board members' notes, meeting notes, everything else. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of content that is like, wow. So as I find all this information, I'll make it all publicly available for people to see. But that's what happened. So I notify Coach Rich of my position. I have his emails back and forth, and he's going, yeah, you know, you can't do this. You can't go on the field. And I'm like, well, you can. It's in the situation. You can't do it for a normal game. You can't go on the field, stop a field, walk on the field without the referee. I get those rules. But on the Hudson United, zero tolerance, it's clear as day in the policy. It's written. It's right there on their website. It tells you, and I think I even screenshot. I have it here. I have all the documentation, guys. You know, it's right there. In a situation of safety, when the children are unsafe, and I've told the sports league about this. I talked to her. It was supposed to be a 3-minute conversation where she's complaining to me about the amount of hours that the league has to spend in it and how costly it is. Like, who cares? Do what's right for the children. And so I tell her that, you know, and I knew right away that they're like just hurrying up in like cover-up mode. That's just, it's like what we see on news shows. It's like what we see in like movies, everything. It's just playing out in front of my eyes. Yeah, I don't agree with it, you know, the way they're doing stuff like this. But I notify them. I have the text messages. You know, I tell Rich that the reason I went on the field was for safety, you know, safety violations. I notified you. I'm on the sidelines notifying people. It's unsafe. I'm concerned. Back and forth. What's going on? I got the other parents' kids coming up to me telling that they're injured. They're being hurt. I got a referee that's complicit, condoning what's going on, not taking action and doing this. You know, if all these people that were involved, that were there, that knew better than me, like the leagues and policies, again, I was the only one to stand up, speak out, and point out the problems, the safety issues, the safety violations. And by me making this statement here, pointing out the referee, I lay the clear pattern of neglect that the league dropped the ball on providing safety for the children. A qualified moderator in a match to make sure that the children were safe. I mean, our league's not supposed to allow or condone heading with the head balls, yet it was allowed. We had down players multiple times, injured, referees oblivious, didn't even call it. The parents are screaming. The other, league lady acknowledges seeing only an edited version of the video sent to her. I wonder what portion Todd Sullivan from Nashua that recorded the video edited and sent in. I don't know. They won't provide me a copy or give me details. So, unfortunately, with what's going on, what's transpired, it's almost to the point where I'm being compelled or forced into a position to take legal action against Hudson United, as well as this other league too as well. If you would have just reached out and got all these details, your punishment towards me, I think it's overkill, right? You could have looked at it and said, yeah, you violated the rules by walking out onto the field, but you did so with the intent of ensuring a safe environment for the children. So we'll cut you a little slack on that. I mean, I'm on video saying, it's, enough is enough. Someone's seriously going to get hurt. I have that clear established pattern of looking out for the kids and doing what's right by them. But when I go ahead and point out that I want to file a complaint against, board members, directors, the people involved that condone this, and I point out what they're doing and I highlight it and bring attention to it, they feel the need to very quickly come down on me and like, oh, we got to get rid of this guy because he's just, he's exposing too much. Yeah, it's. I feel like I got a raw deal, so I'm preparing. I'm busy, but I'm preparing to take legal action against both leagues. It's unfortunate, but that's where we are. But with that, that's pretty much what has transpired. Again, nobody from Hudson United even bothered to reach out to me to hear these concerns, to hear these complaints that I've laid out for everybody here. They didn't contact. They didn't want it. They didn't want to hear this information. Tim, president, of the board. I'm a president of the board too as well. My personal opinion, you're not effective as a leader. Not one. You didn't even reach out. It's pretty bad. Same thing, Ed. I'm hoping maybe you can get some insight on this. I'm hoping that you're not the way that everybody else comes across. I'm hoping that you do the right thing. That you look into my complaints. You take it seriously. You look for the validation of what's there. Telling my son that he can't play in soccer sports or that I can't be there to watch him on the sidelines to see my kid play a game. When I've already established I'm not a danger to the children whatsoever. I'm the only person that spoke up for the children to make sure that they were safe and pointed out when they were being abused and mistreated and everything else. And now, armed with the information that I have now about the league rules and policies and procedures, I will most definitely in the future be filing so many more grievances and complaints whenever I see anything out of line like I've witnessed through my short time at Hudson United or any other organization where I go, whether as a parent, a spectator, or anything. I will be that thorn in their side, just keeping those people honest and holding them accountable. That's all you can do. My wife had mentioned to somebody, I forget, I don't know, but I took it upon myself to go ahead and get the kids' trophies before all this stuff transpired. I wanted the children to go ahead and have something to be proud of and not experience what my child has experienced at Nashua. I didn't want any of them to go through that. And when I found out that Hudson doesn't do anything for the children, I was very upset, all right? It's kind of let down, like, what's going on here? Could be a reason why nobody wants to play in the league and why they're having a difficult time, as I was told, recruiting people. So, that being said, and all the stuff that I've uncovered in my short time as part of that, we won't be returning because I don't think that it's a safe environment for the kids and the kids aren't appreciated. I think it's really more of a, from what I've experienced and the way that we've been treated and everything else, I think it's just more of a paycheck for them that they're worried about. They're worried about keeping the money coming in and not necessarily doing what's right by the kids. I don't think safety is a top concern after all this. So I will look for another league for my child to play in. Something where safety is, their number one priority over all the other stuff. All the other favors that occur back and forth and trying to cover from one another. I don't agree with that stuff. So, like I said, I don't think I was given a fair shake at this or what have you. I think they're trying to cover up all the stuff that I laid out. Like the team mom said, they're all connected, so we'll see if anybody else is held accountable. Don't know. But the team, U9, I had a blast coaching. It was fun. I really appreciated the opportunity. Thank you guys. I have the trophies. I'll go ahead and reach out to my wife, Kim. I'll have her reach out to you guys as far as getting that content out to you guys so that you guys can have. And you guys earned for them. You guys really put up with a lot this year. I wish that I could have been your head coach and we would have had a much better outcome. Much more positive for the children as well. I wish you guys the best. You guys all did extremely well. All right. Be proud of yourselves on that. But yeah, I'll have Kim reach out. You guys can share internally. You guys can reach out to one another and get these trophies out to you guys. That way you guys have them. Now there's a lot more details, but we're going to save those for civil things. Thanks, you guys. I'm going to splice this section in two because my son brought something up that I totally forgot that I meant to include in this. So, during the game, towards the very end of the U10 game, and this bothers me, okay, something else that I've talked about, and I made my complaint. So Ed's department knows about this. The lady that called, they know about this. I've made this known. Before the rulings came down, I notified them that this didn't sit right with me. So the other assistant coach in the Bruin shirt, don't know his name, on our team, the U10, he said, when we were talking about how the other team was playing dirty, everything else, he said that he justified the dirty plays and the actions that were going on by the Nashua team that, well, they're from Nashua and their parents aren't involved in their lives, so they don't really have a good moral upbringing. That's his statement. His more disparaging remarks by coaches in the Hudson. There's more. It's like rampant, okay? And I look at him, so it's not okay. I'm from Nashua. My kids live in Nashua, go to school. You're talking about my kid. Not okay. Unacceptable. I mean, again, here I am speaking up for this time my own kids again. We got the assistant coach saying that, well, they're from Nashua, so it's no justification for it. Just like you were justifying, well, he's a hockey player, so it's okay. No. Quit with the appeasement. It's not okay. What's wrong is wrong. Getting into racially profiling children, no. Wrong. There should be zero tolerance on that. Ed, take notice. Okay? Not okay. You shouldn't do these things. Again, you guys never even reached out to me. You would have had all this information. You can't paint me out to be a bad person or not doing what's right for the children. I've just clearly established that what I was doing. All right? And by the way, people, my son Richard, he's recovered. He's doing well. He's fine now. Thanks, everybody, for asking.